Yeah, he must have stepped away for a moment. Jay, you have anything you want to get started with this morning?
Yeah, I can say a few words about the upcoming festivities in the sense of time collection. The league wants us to report hours, and we've been talking about how we might do that for a while now. And we're still talking about it, but the way it's supposed to work is that all of the SEC is supposed to turn in something every month. All the ECs are supposed to report, to the SEC, who tallies it up and turns it in. In a place where there's one EC per county and they all run their own show and they all run their own nets, that kind of makes sense. We do something a little different here, mostly in that our nets are section wide. So we can count those in the meetings. I can do that, and we'll start doing that. However, if you are an EC and you do run your own nets, do please report those, because we want to know, the hours of, who's playing when, and, get credit with that for the league. So that's about it. I didn't really have anything complicated prepared, but I did want to mention that this was coming, and for those ECs that do run their own nets and do send their reports to Dave, please copy me henceforth, and we'll figure out what to do for counting the global nets, the section-wide nets. Work with those net controls. So if you're a net control, you'll probably be hearing from me about that. Any questions?
All right, I don't see anything. Bruce, I see you're back. It's time to get started.
Yeah, my apologies. I am 26 hours into my day from yesterday. We're in the middle of a hospital upgrade, so I had to step away for a moment. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the March edition of the San Diego ARES meeting. Normally we kick this off with me starting it off. I was delayed in game. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Jay, for pinch hitting for a moment. If I can get everybody to stand, if you're able to do so in your ambulatory, and I would appreciate it. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
Of
United States of America and to
the republic
for which
it
it stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everyone. So, exciting month from last month, right? As mentioned, things in the world and things around us are changing dramatically to some degree. And in other areas, they're pretty much still the same. So we're, winding down from fun COVID stuff, and we're winding into other things that are probably just as equally concerning. And we'll have impacts on the ARES group. We'll have impacts on us individually and our families, to be sure. But before we do a deeper dive into that, before we go out and do anything else, let's do the usual routine. We'll ask for anyone that's new to the group, new member, just started with ARES, just learning about ARES, because you all know how hard it is to join the ARES group. You sign up on a web page and you're an ARES member for the most part. So if you're new to the group, this would be the right time to raise a hand, introduce yourself, say why you're interested, where you're from, anything we might want to know as a new intro or a new lead. Do we have anyone that's new with the group?
That would qualify. I'd qualify as that statement. I've been involved in at FARC, the Fall Book Amateur Radio Club, for 3 years now. You can see KM6UFF. I got my license in 2018, and Fallbrook has a very emergency sort of calm mindset. So, and my priorities kind of fall into that same sort of mindset. So it was a good fit, and they encouraged me. Ron Patton there encouraged me to do a little more than the minimum. So I've got my WinLink up just a couple weeks ago and improving on that. And I have been interested in, before he was even a ham, a lot of just kind of emergency power stuff. So I'm very familiar with lithium battery packs. I built several of those between 3 and 200 amp hour, and have done things in that regard, power wise, that I'm more familiar with than radio. So, and so if you were, and I actually wrote a spreadsheet on how to configure, you know, the components for such a system that you can find on the Fallbrook Amateur Radio website. If you're interested in plugging in some loads and things, it'll actually give you specs on a charge controller and things like that. So anyway, I'm hoping to improve my WinLink skills and just so many other things, so I can put all those things together and be a useful member of ARES.
Very good. Much appreciated. Welcome aboard.
Hey, Bruce.
Jim.
Yes, a friend of mine has recently joined ARES. He wasn't able to make it this morning. Hopefully he will in the soon. We'll be able to in the near future. His name is Rick Adams, KM6DGL. He's an ex-fire chief, ex-Marine, and he also works with me in security for our church. So that's KM6DGL. And I want to make sure that he's on the list for Sunday morning, the roll call as well, if you would please, whoever's doing that. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Jim. Anyone else new to the group, new to the organization, new to ham radio? Not seeing any hands, and I'm not seeing anybody else jump on. Dave, I heard you earlier. Did you do anything for the section or ARRL? I know Rob is not going to make it today.
No, I did not do any announcements at all. I think probably the biggest thing really is of changes for field day, which we can talk about here as we get a little closer. It's not that far away, and but basically everything is going to be like it was last year, except for the power limit of 100 watts. So other than that, we have April 18th coming up, which is World Amateur Radio Day. Good day to tell everybody about amateur radio and keep things going. Next month, we're going to have Parks on the Air with a rapid deployment by Marty. We have the Rookie Roundup coming on. But more importantly, if you're planning on getting on the nets tomorrow morning, make sure you change your clocks tonight so you can be there on time. That's all I have for right now, Bruce.
Very good. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, usually the joke for the time change is that we'll have two nets. We'll have the correct net, and then we'll have the late to the party net. But it's always interesting when it's this particular time of year. And, you know, even in the fall, it happens the other direction. We'll have people have the clock change and not have the clock change, and you'll have two sets of check-ins. It's always interesting to watch. You'd think we'd be used to this by now, but you know what? It's okay. I work in a large environment. It's amazing. Back when we were mostly working on premise, how many folks either didn't make it on time or made it at an odd hour, depending on which side of that coin you were landing on. From the facilities, from the hospital perspective, not much change. I'm sure that everybody here is probably to some degree tracking what the state of California, what the CDC, what the California Department of Health are all constantly updating us on for requirements and things like that. The requirements, while they might be changing for a lot of environments, have not changed significantly for the healthcare organizations. They are still very much concerned about people wearing masks indoors in the facility. Yeah, although it's more of an option for visitors and things like that, unless you're visiting someone in a patient ward, it's still pretty much in play. The employees are encouraged very strongly to go out and continue the practice. And, you know, that's what the healthcare organizations are doing. So not a lot of change there. And that also means that from the perspective of them opening doors to meetings and having meetings live again, whether it's my facility or one of the other hospital systems we had been meeting at previously. It doesn't look like we're going to be back to that anytime soon, probably mid-year at the very earliest. And depending on what happens with everything else going on, of course, right? Depending on what happens specifically with any new variants, any new strains, any new guidance related to that, you know, just as quickly as they could say, yep, you guys can have a meeting next month, it could just as quickly be shut down. So we're not pushing it, but my initial guidance was middle of the year, probably June or July, before they get anywhere with a decision on that. And we will follow on with these meetings remotely as we have been. We encourage everybody to go out and participate and attend. I know this made it easier in some cases for those that had a longer commute. And I'm hoping that everybody's getting the benefit as much as we can and adapting to this as much as we have needed to go out and do so over the last year or so. In world news, as I'm sure everybody's paying attention, there's a significant amount of things that are happening, and obviously with political things going on and lots of news and media related events, if you will, there is always going to be the darker side of the coin in that there are a lot of electronic scams that are happening, a lot of funding opportunities where organizations, people, individual groups, some of them very professionally done, believe me, are asking for donations to go out and help people out in other parts of the world that might need assistance financially and otherwise. And I hate to say the usual seasonal thing like I do in the fall and we go into the holiday season, but it's like that now. There's a lot of things that are not on the level. They're not legitimate. You might go to a website, you might click on a couple of links, you might want to learn about more about what this website and this organization is doing to go out and provide relief if you give them money or some other charitable donation. And sadly, in a lot of cases, these are scams, they're malware sites for delivery. So you end up with an infected PC, you end up with people gaining access to things on your computer that you probably don't want. The email scams are very high as well. As far as growing in numbers, I've got pretty decent coverage on my PCs, and I will tell you that the traffic in email that's bad traffic and bogus traffic and false things and whatever, pretty significant and disturbing as it may or may not be. Even if you were to see a friendly email coming from Rob, I'll use Rob since he can't defend himself and he's not here. Even if you see a friendly email that says from Rob K6RJF, and you look at the actual header for the email, you may indeed find, like I have, that email is not from Rob. It's from somebody else's account. And Rob is asking you to click on a link, play a video, go to a website, do something else. I am using that as an example because it's a real example. We've got several folks that are actually here in this meeting today that I receive email from. That's not really from that person. So don't know where the list came from. A lot of this stuff is commonly available. All someone has to do is, as a hacker, gain access to someone's email account because they've gotten access to their PC, and all they have to do is look at any of our contact lists that we have for email, and that becomes a distribution list, if you will, for them to go out and send messages as if they are one or more of those people. So really, truly be on the lookout. If you are listening to me, like I do this about quarterly, I'll do my quarterly now since we're in the merry month of March. And I will say, if you haven't patched your PC, if you're not keeping up with your monthly updates, if you're not checking your software, and you're not doing this not only on your PC, your laptops, your phones, etc., then I would strongly recommend that you do so. Because generally speaking, once a month for Windows stuff is about average. And once every couple of months now seems to be the average for at least the security updates to Android. And on the Apple side, I think I've gotten 3 in the last maybe 60 days. So make sure you're taking care of your own stuff. You don't want to have your equipment not work when you need it. You want to be able to use WinLink when you need to do something. And you certainly don't want to have your phone impacted or your data compromised. So word to the wise and all of those fun things. I really don't have anything else that's a breakout announcement, Dave. I don't really have anything else organizationally that I can think of that we have for other announcements.
All right, yeah, John has his hand up. So John, go ahead.
Yes, have we heard anything about the status of the Miramar Air Show for this year? Yay or nay?
Not officially, but I gotta be honest, I'm not expecting it. Believe me when I tell you, by the way, if I was not doing this upgrade that I'm working on 27.5 hours of being in uptime on, I would be in El Centro right now. I would be watching the A-10 fly at 1:40 in the afternoon, and I would be watching the Blues fly about 4 o'clock this afternoon. And I would be out there watching the static show because candidly and honestly, with what's going on in the world, I'm actually a little tiny bit surprised they're actually having the air show. Anything that's going to be an on-base or on-facilities event with the current state of world affairs, I think will be highly restricted. Won't be a matter of COVID, I don't think so much this year. I think it'll probably be a matter of United States and infrastructure security issues and related things like that. So no word, but honestly, if we don't see a significant and dramatic change in the very near future, I don't think I would expect it.
John, you still got your hand up? Something more?
Oh, no, sorry, I just hadn't taken it down yet.
All right. Okay, if that's all the announcements we have this morning, we'll go ahead. We have Eric with us to talk on Civil Air Patrol. So Eric, you are a co-host, so you can have the floor and do your thing. And thank you
Okay.
for being here.
Good morning.